right, so you're thinking about a career in aquaculture harvesting management.
Not your typical 9 to 5, is it?
Definitely not. We're talking about sustainably raising and harvesting fish, a pretty vital part of our food supply, wouldn't you say?
It's an industry that's booming, that's for sure. I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually projected something like a 13% increase in aquaculture jobs over the next decade.
Wow, 13%? That's huge.
Yeah, way faster than average. Good news for anyone thinking about this as a career.
Definitely. And lucky for us, we've got RoleCatcher's in-depth career guide to walk us through it all, becoming an aquaculture harvesting manager, I mean.
They really break it all down, don't they? Everything from what you do on a daily basis to the skills you need to really succeed. They even talk about salary ranges.
And it's not all about being on a boat hauling in nets, right?
No, it's much more than that.
So what's the real story then?
Well, think of it like this. If an aquaculture farm is a well-oiled machine, the aquaculture harvesting manager is the one making sure all the parts are working in sync.
Oh, I see. So it's a management role, but with a very practical, hands-on component.
Precisely. You're overseeing the entire process. From the second those fish are harvested to the moment they're prepped for distribution, you're the one in charge.
That makes a lot of sense. You're not only responsible for the quantity of the harvest, but also the quality, all while keeping sustainability and ethical practices in mind.
Now you're getting it. And that's something RoleCatcher stresses, too. This growing consumer demand for sustainably sourced seafood. People want to know where their food comes from, and they want to know it was raised responsibly.
So you're not just a manager. You're like an ambassador for sustainable aquaculture. You're the one making sure those practices are being upheld every step of the way.
That's a great way to put it. It's a career that needs you to have a good balance of scientific knowledge, business smarts, and a real genuine commitment to ethical practices.
And speaking of those practices, let's talk about the work environment. I imagine it can be pretty demanding at times, no?
Oh, you can say that again. RoleCatcher definitely doesn't sugarcoat that part. Long hours, especially during those peak seasons, come with the territory. Plus, you're working outdoors, often in some pretty unpredictable weather conditions.
Okay, so maybe not for the faint of heart then.
Let's just say you need a certain level of, well, grit. You've got to be resilient.
But I bet there's a certain satisfaction that comes with that, right?
Oh, absolutely. To be working in sync with nature, seeing the tangible results of all your hard work, a healthy, sustainable harvest. You can't beat that feeling of reward.
And I'm guessing no 2 days are ever quite the same.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
One day you might be out on the water, coordinating with harvesting teams, and the next you're analyzing data, troubleshooting equipment, or meeting with suppliers. You wear a lot of hats, that's for sure.
Sounds like you need a pretty diverse skill set to manage all that.
You can say that again. RoleCatcher has this whole list of essential skills. They mention critical thinking and problem solving, communication, teamwork, you name it. You've got to be able to interact with everyone. Marine biologists, equipment technicians, buyers, regulators, the list goes on.
Wow, so it's pretty clear this is a challenging and multifaceted career. But let's say someone is intrigued. Where do they even begin? What kind of education or training is typically required?
Well, a strong foundation in science is definitely key. RoleCatcher generally recommends a degree in aquaculture, fisheries management, or something along those lines. But a degree is really just the tip of the iceberg.
What do you mean?
Well, RoleCatcher makes it clear that hands-on experience is just as important, if not more so.
Ah, I see. So internships, volunteering on an aquaculture farm, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's one thing to read about fish biology in a textbook, but it's a whole different ballgame to actually be out there on a working farm, seeing how things actually operate in a real-world setting.
That's great advice for anyone considering this career path, especially while they're still in school, right?
Yeah.
Start making those connections, get some practical experience under their belt early on.
Couldn't agree more. And as you're gaining that experience, you'll start to climb that career ladder RoleCatcher talks about.
Oh yeah, they map it out pretty clearly.
They do, and it's not always a straight shot to the top.
Right, it's a process.
Exactly.
So you might start as an aquaculture harvesting assistant, then maybe move up to a technician role, eventually work your way up to supervisor, and then finally the big leagues harvesting manager.
You got it. And every step of the way, you're building on your knowledge, you're honing those skills, proving you can handle more and more responsibility.
Sounds like continuous learning is essential in this field, even at the managerial level.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher is really big on that point. They talk about these certifications like aquaculture professional or certified aquatic harvesting manager.
I imagine those certifications carry a lot of weight in the industry, showing you're dedicated to staying ahead of the curve, especially with technology evolving so rapidly these days.
Exactly. It's a fast-moving field. Speaking of technology, RoleCatcher mentioned some really cool advancements happening in aquaculture, underwater drones, AI-powered sorting systems.
Oh yeah, that caught my eye too. What's the deal with those? What are we talking about here?
Well, it's incredible to see how technology is changing the game. Take underwater drones, for instance.
Okay, drones. We're not talking about those little things people fly around for fun, right?
No, no, not even close. These are autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, equipped with sensors and cameras. It's pretty high-tech stuff.
Wow, AUVs. So instead of having to manually check the water conditions or monitor fish behavior, you've got these underwater scouts reporting back in real time.
Exactly. Imagine being able to check the water temperature, oxygen levels, even fish health, all from your computer screen.
Now that's efficiency. Must save a ton of time and resources.
It does, and it makes management much more precise and proactive. You're not just reacting to problems after they occur, you're using data to anticipate and prevent them altogether.
So these drones are like the eyes and ears of the modern aquaculture harvesting manager.
You could say that. They're giving a level of insight and control that simply wasn't possible before. And it's not just about monitoring. RoleCatcher mentioned that some companies are even using drones to herd fish.
Herd fish, you mean like rounding them up like sheep?
Well, it's not quite that dramatic. But yeah, basically, these drones use light or sound cues to guide fish toward harvesting areas.
So instead of chasing down fish with nets, you can just like steer them in the right direction with a drone.
Precisely. And it's much less stressful for the fish, making the whole process more efficient and humane. It's a win-win.
That's amazing. So we've got drones, and what about those AI-powered sorting systems? What role do they play in all this?
Picture a conveyor belt where every single fish is scanned, analyzed for size, weight, even potential health issues, all in an instant.
So it eliminates any guesswork when it comes to grading and sorting. Only the best of the best make it to market.
Exactly, and it does it with incredible speed and accuracy, minimizing waste and maximizing yield.
These advancements are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in aquaculture. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Absolutely, and it's an exciting time to be part of it. RoleCatcher mentioned how these technologies are actually attracting a whole new generation of aquaculture professionals, people who are passionate about both sustainability and innovation.
It's the perfect storm of opportunity. The demand for sustainable seafood is skyrocketing. The industry is embracing cutting-edge technology, and there's a real need for skilled, passionate individuals to lead the charge.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But even with all this talk about technology and innovation, it's important to remember that aquaculture is still, at its core, about working with nature.
Right, we can't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's where the why of this career path comes into play. Why would someone choose to dedicate their professional life to aquaculture? What are the real-world impacts?
It's about more than just a paycheck at the end of the day, right? It's about contributing to something larger than yourself.
100%. As the global population keeps growing, so does the demand for food, protein especially. Aquaculture has a real shot at playing a key role in meeting that demand sustainably and responsibly.
And that's where the Aquaculture Harvesting Manager comes in, making sure those practices are being followed, steering the whole industry in the right direction.
That's it. They're the ones on the front lines, balancing production needs with the health of our planet. They're making sure that future generations can enjoy the bounty of our oceans. It's a big responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity to make a real difference.
That's the spirit. And let's not forget about all the innovation happening. We've touched on drones and AI, but RoleCatcher also mentioned some really interesting stuff about closed containment systems and integrated multi-trophic aquaculture.
Okay, now those sound intriguing, but you're going to have to break those down for me.
Of course. Closed containment systems are basically self-contained aquaculture environments, often land-based, which helps minimize the impact on surrounding ecosystems.
So you're creating a controlled environment that mimics the natural habitat of the fish, but without all the risks that come with open ocean farming.
You got it. And then there's IMTA, or integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. This is more of a holistic approach that tries to mimic natural food webs.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Tell me more.
Basically, you cultivate different species together in a way that benefits the whole system. Like you might raise fish alongside seaweed and shellfish. The seaweed absorbs excess nutrients, the shellfish filter the water, and the fish, well, they're the main course.
It's like creating a mini self-sustaining ecosystem.
Mm,
That's amazing. And these are the kinds of things that aquaculture harvesting managers need to be on top of.
absolutely. They need to be aware of these advancements, understand the benefits, and know how to implement them effectively.
Wow, it's clear this career path is about so much more than just raising fish. It's science, it's technology, it's environmental stewardship, it's innovation.
You said it. And for those up for the challenge, it can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling path.
So for anyone listening who's considering taking the plunge into the world of aquaculture, what would you say is the most important thing to remember?
Besides the qualifications and all the technical skills, it really boils down to having that deep sense of curiosity and a genuine passion for the work.
Because when you're truly passionate about something, you're willing to put in the effort, embrace those challenges, and never stop learning.
Exactly. And in a field as dynamic and ever-evolving as aquaculture, that thirst for knowledge is crucial.
Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of aquaculture. I have a feeling our listeners are swimming with ideas right now.
I hope so. It's a career path with so much potential, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for this industry.
Me too. Now, before we wrap things up, let's touch on that often dreaded part of the job search, the interview. RoleCatcher gives some great tips on how to prepare.
They do. Preparation is key, especially for those behavioral questions.
Those tell me about a time when questions. Those can be tough.
They can be a bit tricky, but they're a great opportunity to really showcase your skills and experience. Remember that STAR method we talked about earlier? Situation, task, action, result.
Right, right. It's like a roadmap for answering those kinds of questions.
Exactly. RoleCatcher actually gives a really good example. Can you describe a time you had to make a difficult decision related to aquaculture harvesting? Now, that's a tough one.
Talk about pressure. How do you even begin to answer something like that?
Right, right. It's like a
Roadmap for answering those kinds of questions.
Exactly. RoleCatcher actually gives a really good example. Can you describe a time you had to make a difficult decision related to aquaculture harvesting? Now, that's a tough one.
Talk about pressure. How do you even begin to answer something like that?
Well, it's all about showing them you can think on your feet, that you've got those problem-solving skills and that you're committed to those ethical practices. Remember the STAR method.
Situation, task, action, result. Got it.
There you go. That's your game plan right there.
So you'd walk them through a specific scenario, right? Maybe like an unexpected fish health issue or a big storm that threatened the harvest.
Exactly. You lay out the task at hand, the decision you had to make, all the factors you weighed. Did you have to postpone the harvest, come up with a whole new treatment plan?
Then you explain what you did, step by step, highlighting your leadership skills, showing you can make the tough calls under pressure.
And this is important. You got to describe the result. How did your actions turn things around? Did you minimize the impact? Uphold those all-important sustainability standards we talked about.
You've got to connect the dots for them. Show them you can handle the curveballs, make sound decisions, and always do what's best for the fish, the business, and of course the environment.
You've got it. It's about demonstrating you have the knowledge, the experience, and that ethical compass to be a successful aquaculture harvesting manager.
Well, this deep dive has been truly eye-opening. We've gone from the day-to-day realities of the job to those amazing cutting-edge technologies shaping the future of aquaculture.
And it's a field that never sits still, always evolving, which is part of what makes it so exciting.
Absolutely. So for anyone listening who feels that pull towards the water, who's passionate about sustainable food, and who's not afraid of a little hard work, well, this just might be the perfect fit for you.
And never underestimate the power of curiosity.
So true. A huge thank you to RoleCatcher for such a comprehensive guide to this amazing career path.
It's an invaluable resource for anyone considering a future in the world of aquaculture.
And to all our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore the possibilities. Who knows? Maybe one of you will be at the forefront of sustainable aquaculture someday.
The future is yours to create.
Well said. Until next time, happy diving, everyone.